We're going to be talking about my early time restricted eating meal plan. I've been changing some things up. As you know, I've been away for a few weeks, so this is my first live stream in a month. I'm a little rusty. Let's see how it goes. Well, once again, I have a little bit of a technical problem with the comments, so hopefully they'll come in. I'm missing one of my screens, couldn't get it to go on. That's why I'm starting about five minutes or so late. But let's jump into it. We'll go over exactly what early time restricted eating is. Then once again, I want to talk about the circadian rhythm. Hey DD, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. We're going to be talking about circadian rhythm and why maybe early time restricted eating is better than late. Then I want to go over all the new research about early time restricted eating. I'm going to pull up a couple of different studies. I won't go too deep into the science, but I'll just show you the study just to kind of back up everything that I'll be talking about today. Then I'll go over my exact early time restricted eating meal plan, like what I've been following over the last few weeks. And then we'll do like a Q&A at the end of the live stream, but we'll take questions like along the way. Hey Chris Davis, thanks for showing up too. Well, let me show you what I can do just so everyone can see. CDD, I can pull up your comments so everyone else can see them if you have any questions. I think Chris also, follows me on Facebook from Midland, Texas. Oh, really cool. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for showing up. I really appreciate it. This is great. So I guess everything must be looking good, sounding good. Any issues, please let me know. But let's jump right into it. Let's go over what is like early time restricted eating. It's been getting a lot of press like lately with that. See that little eTRE? That stands for early time restricted eating. Because like a recent study came out saying how incredibly effective it was for losing body weight, for losing weight in general. And actually one recent study that we're going to go over a little bit just came out talking about how it worked even better than just normal calorie restriction. And there's always a big debate between, people who are into intermittent fasting, time restricted eating. Does it really work better than calorie restriction? I think calorie restriction is still key, but we'll go over all the different research. Let's go. Chris says, everything sounds great. Fantastic. Hey, DD's from Rhode Island. Really cool. I love Rhode Island. That's great. We're not too far. That's great. Cool. Okay, so let's go over what exactly is early time restricted eating. All it means is that when you're doing these intermittent fasting or time restricted eating strategies, and the difference is say you're doing a 16-8, right? You're fasting for 16 hours, taking in all your calories within an 8-hour eating window. First off, if you do that like not every day intermittently, that would be intermittent fasting. But if you do it every single day, that would be called time restricted eating, or some people say time restricted feeding. And how most people have typically done it, and I've done this for like 10, 12 years, is that they typically would skip breakfast, right? Break their fast 12, 1 o'clock, have their last meal of the day 7, 8 o'clock. That would be like late intermittent fasting or time restricted eating. But now a lot of the research is saying that is probably better for your circadian rhythm and some other factors we're going to talk about to actually eat breakfast. So early time restricted eating means that you're following one of these fasting protocols, whether it's intermittently or every single day. Time restricted eating means every single day, but you are eating in the morning and then you stop eating earlier in the day. So let's say you're doing maybe from 8 in the morning to say 6 in the evening or 2 in the afternoon. But I'm going to go over it in a lot of great detail. Oh, Harry, hey Harry, thanks for showing up. Harry from New York, I appreciate you showing up too. Harry is like another regular that we have here. Okay, so let's review quickly. So an example would be 16-8, eating window 8 to 4 p.m. or an eating window of say 10 to 6 p.m. That would be early time restricted eating. So let's go over why maybe eating breakfast or maybe just taking in protein, taking calories earlier in the day really is a good idea. And one of the main reasons is it has to do, I'm going to make sure I keep my phone on because sometimes I miss some of the comments. There we go. One of the main reasons why that might be a good idea is due to your circadian rhythm. Now your circadian rhythm is your 24-hour internal clock. It pretty much regulates every single process within the body. It controls your metabolism, your digestion, your hormones, your gene expression. It can really control pretty much every cell within your body. And your circadian rhythm is regulated by the time you wake up in the morning, by the time you go to sleep at night. Like when sunlight hits your body, it turns on certain reactions within your body. The time in which you eat and the time in which you have your first and last meal are super important. And it seems like, based on the new research, that it is important to take in calories, specifically protein, earlier in the day. It kind of like jump starts the whole digestive process. It's also really important, I've talked about this in great detail too, it's really important to get sunlight first thing in the morning when you wake up, like unprotected, meaning like no sunglasses on. These are the blue blocker yellow lenses because I have so much LED light hitting me now. It gives me headaches if I don't wear them. But like every morning, the first thing I do, if I don't take a walk, fasted walk first thing in the morning, I'll go and drink my coffee outside on my deck or, you know, on a patio just to absorb the sunlight for 5 and 10 minutes. Super important to kind of jumpstart your circadian rhythm. So that's one of the main reasons why I think it's a good idea to start eating breakfast. And I switched. I was doing like a 16-8, 18-6. If you guys have been following me for years, I've tried every single schedule, but I typically always skip breakfast because I felt socially it was easier for me to eat dinner with my wife, to eat dinner with my kids in the evening. But I really have switched over, especially since I've been away. We're gonna talk about my vacation like later on in this live stream. It was really easy on vacation to really permanently make the switch for me because we had like this amazing free breakfast. I woke up, ate breakfast like 10 o'clock. First I woke up, I walked along the ocean for about an hour and a half. Then I came back, ate my breakfast, and then I had an early dinner and I was done. So socially, it really worked on vacation, and I've been sticking to it since I've been back, and I really do like it. I really feel great in it. I'm going to stay with it. I hope the comments are coming in because typically I get some more comments, but let's see. If there are any issues, let me know. Okay, let's go over one of this recent study. I'll just blow it up. I just took a little like screen capture of it so you see that I'm not making this stuff up. Effectiveness of early time restricted eating for weight loss, fat loss, cardiometabolic health, and adults with obesity. So this study was done on people who were considerably overweight. But what this study showed, I'll give you a quick overview. First of all, they compared early time restricted eating to a 12-hour eating window. They did their time restricted eating relatively early in the morning, like that. They had their first meal at say 7 in the morning. They were done eating by 3 in the afternoon. Okay, both groups now, the group that ate within a 12-hour eating window and the group that did the early time restricted eating, both groups were in a 500 calorie deficit. So the researchers want both groups to eat 500 calories less a day. That's why I am a believer when you're doing time restricted eating or when you're doing intermittent fasting, you really do have to be in a calorie deficit to get the maximum benefit out of it, I think. Yes, there are some health benefits to restricting your eating windows, but if you really want to lose weight, lose body fat, you do have to be in a calorie deficit, in my opinion. The two most important things to track are calories and protein. No question about it. But we'll talk about that in more detail. I think Chris has got a question. Let's see what Chris got, then we'll continue with this study. Okay, Chris. Okay, Chris Davis. I did a 30-minute walk in the morning, drank my coffee on the porch. Whoa, Chris, you're right on. I love it. Then I ate 5 eggs, some strawberries, blueberries, and half. Chris, I mean, you're on my diet. You're on my program. I absolutely love it. So you jump-started your circadian rhythm with some sunlight. You took a fasted walk first thing in the morning, and then you're eating what I think is the ideal diet. You're prioritizing protein, 6-7 grams of protein per egg. So you got like 30 grams of protein in. You got your antioxidants and with your strawberries and blueberries and the polyphenols, and then half an avocado is just like loaded with fiber, potassium, healthy monounsaturated fat. That's my diet. I mean, I love it. That's great, Chris. Let's see what Dee Dee's got. Okay, Dee Dee's got a question here from Rhode Island. Let's see. My goal is 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I like that eating window. I think that's great. I was doing 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. I worked out fasted last week and ate from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., but no weight or inches lost. Okay, first of all, I like the switch if you can do it. As long as you don't mind not eating, not eating so late at night, I much prefer the earlier 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. based on everything we're going to discuss today. Why you may not have lost weight is that I still think you may not be in a calorie deficit. Like a general good calorie deficit for me is you take your body weight and you multiply it by 10. So let's just assume, I have no idea how heavy you are, so don't be insulted or anything. Let's say you're 150 pounds. So you multiply 150 by 10, that's 1,500 calories a day. So that's the main thing. First of all, you don't want to eat more than 1,500 calories. That's a good calorie deficit to be in. The second thing you want to focus on is to make sure you're taking an adequate amount of protein. And I know you're a workout gal, you're asking some workout questions. I think you can even go as high as 1 gram of protein per goal weight. Let's say your goal weight's 130 pounds. Eat 130 grams of protein a day. Those are the two most important things to focus on, protein and calories. You know, like I've heard some people say they just backfill their calories with anything they want as long as they're eating an adequate amount of protein. You could do that, but I'd rather you not. I'd rather you follow the diet that I'm going to be talking about today, like Chris is eating. I want you to whole natural food diet. You know, fruits, vegetables, good quality protein. Every 4 ounces chicken, fish, or meat, 25 grams of protein. So an adequate amount of protein. I don't know if you're eating 2 or 3 meals. If you're working out, I like that idea because you want to make sure you're getting enough protein, like 2 meals in a protein shake or a protein bar. You'll start losing weight, DD. You will. You know, if you want to start using MyFitnessPal, great way to track your calories and your protein just to see where you're at. You'd be surprised. You can definitely overeat even doing these time restricted eating or fasting strategies, no question. But I've done it too. See, I do it for multiple reasons. Sometimes I go into a calorie deficit. Sometimes I go into maintenance. Sometimes I go into like a positive energy balance, depending upon what my goals are. Like if I want to put on muscle, I may go over, but I still stick to pretty much 2 meals a day with the protein shake. I just kind of adjust the quantity of the food that I'm eating. Okay, let's see. Let's see what Jeff's got. Hey, Jeff, thanks for showing up again. I know I've been gone for like a month. I appreciate it. Hey, Mike, glad you're back. Everybody's out of Pellegrino. That's really funny. Everybody, because Jeff knows that I really recommend Pellegrino water. I love mineral water. I mean, my general rule is drink half your ounces of water every single day. So let's say you're 150 pounds, 75 ounces of water. And I like mineral water because it's high in minerals. It's high in magnesium, and they give you a little bit of electrolytes. So I had to set up for Perrier. I think Perrier is good, but Perrier, and what's interesting, it doesn't have as much as the minerals. Because if you look at the Perrier bottle, not the cans, it'll say low mineral content. I think they kind of, some people don't want them. I don't know if they pull it out or that's just how the Perrier like spring is. But I'm planning OMAD today. Oh, that sounds good. I'm doing OMAD today too. So it's interesting because even though I'm going to be talking about this early time restricted eating, which I have been doing, I've been doing it 6 days a week. But on Sundays, this is my Sunday routine. I'm going to be back into it now that I'm back. You know, I prepare for this live stream. I do a lot, I get these slides already. Then I do the live stream. Then I drink a lot of water. I take a 2-hour, 100-minute to 2-hour fasted walk. And then I get back. I kind of have an early dinner, like a feasting meal, maybe from 4 to 6 o'clock. So I still do that 1 day a week. So that's the interesting. You know, I'm always experimenting, always trying different things. I like that strategy. I like having a low-calorie day on Sunday because on Saturdays I generally, I think I drank a little bit of wine last night and maybe ate a little bit more than I normally do. So Sunday's kind of even at the day for me. Hey, Blue Sky, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. I appreciate you here. Miller, great. Good afternoon. Awesome. Oh, yeah, that's funny. Amazon ran out of my Pellegrino subscription. Yeah, Jeff said the same thing. I guess that's what's going on. I didn't realize it. I don't get my Pellegrino from there. I just buy it from the local, the local grocery store near me. Sometimes I even go to Costco and get it. Let's say what Didi's got. Okay, so Didi. At 8 a.m., I take a 30-minute walk outside. Love it. That's great. And also, Didi, like I talked about before, just make sure you're not wearing sunscreen. I know the gals like to wear makeup and sunscreen. If your makeup has screen in it, try not to do it at least for like 15, 20 minutes. You want to get that, you want to absorb the sunlight. I broke my fast with 6 ounces of shredded chicken. Love that. 2.5 ounces of chickpea pasta. Sounds good. Chickpea pasta, high in fiber, a little bit more protein. 6 asparagus. Let's see. I missed it. 6 asparagus spears. 1 tablespoon butter. 1 slice of. I love it, D. I think you're right on. You're with me. We're thinking alike. You're on the same page, which is great. Love it. Let's say. Yeah, I know. I bet they'll get it. I hope they get it back. I hope they get it back for you. Okay. And then following up with 15-minute walk for 30 minutes later. I love that. See, you're doing something that's so important. And there's so much, not so much, but there's studies coming out like constantly talking about how important it is or how good it is to do some type of movement post-exercise. And a new study came out. I'm going to do a little video on it, but it came out recently saying even 2 minutes of walking post-meal, right after meal, really helps control blood sugar. 10 minutes is even better. There's been a study I did a video on, if you go onto my YouTube channel and look it up, talking about the benefits of walking like 10 minutes after every meal. It's tremendous. It like clears glucose. It's like taking metformin, which is a blood pressure medication. A diabetes medication. Helps clear glucose, which is great. And I just listened to, I always talk about this guy, Andrew Huberman. I just visited my son yesterday at school. I drove a couple hours to listen to a podcast. He did a podcast on just his general fitness routine. Look it up. It's great. It's called Huberman Labs. Andrew Huberman, professor at Stanford. And he was talking about like the ideal exercise prescription. And he talked about one study in the beginning of the podcast, which is so incredible. Let me talk about it. It's really cool. It talked about how people who did the simplest thing, okay? You know how your calf muscle is made out of a gastroc, which is your large calf muscle, but underneath the gastroc is a muscle called soleus. Some people, they named it because it's like the soul of a fish. And literally, if you're seated in a chair, and they had participants who some people sat in a chair and all they did, but it was for a long period of time, for 2 hours a day, is did mini calf raises. Literally just went up on the tip of the toes while seating. That dramatically helped clear glucose, which is unbelievable, that slight movement. But the big takeaway was telling me is that once you eat something, it's such an incredibly good idea to move around. Whether it's vacuum your house, whether it's jump in the garden, whether it is just literally walk up and down your steps, you do something for a couple of minutes minimum after every meal. It's so important. It really does help clear glucose. Okay, let's see what we got here. Chris, I'm drinking 2 16-ounce bottles of 𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉 a day. Do I need to be drinking a lot? You know, Chris, 16 is 32 ounces. I would probably say yes. I'm not sure what your weight is. I would probably say drink more than that. It doesn't have to be 𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉. Unless you're eating like a very high water content diet, meaning that if you're eating like, you know, a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, like a big salad every day, you're probably getting a decent amount of water from that. If you're drinking like herbal teas, I drink a lot of hibiscus tea, even coffee, even though it's a little bit of a diuretic, you're still getting liquids there. So it depends. If that's your only liquid content, I would say increase it more. If not, you might be getting enough. Let's see, Chris Davis. Is that, oh, the interesting, 5 whole eggs. If they're pasture raised, I think it's great. I'm ready to go to Italy to bring some back. Oh, that's cool. You know, actually, I'm going to Italy. I'm going to Italy. It's funny because this last trip, I have not been on a plane for 4 years since the pandemic. It was like brutal. You know, it's brutal. But the pandemic was very difficult just for my business. Gyms got crushed in the pandemic. So I took this first trip, like I say, recently, a couple of weeks ago. I'll talk about it more at the end. I went to Kansas City, then we went to Hawaii. It was like a business type trip with my wife. Absolutely loved it. And now we're going to Italy in a couple of weeks. It just happened to fit into our schedule, which is really amazing. We're staying at a B&B. It's so much more affordable now to go to Italy. We've rented this beautiful little apartment in Rome. It's like $106 a night. It's like mind-blowing. And the plane flight was so affordable. $500 round trip. And then I'll be around for a while, so I may miss you guys again. But I'll do a lot of, I may even do a live stream from Rome this time if I have a good internet connection. It should be a lot of fun. Okay, you're 228, Chris? Yes, definitely drink more water, no question about it. So if you're 228 and you're only doing like 32 ounces of 𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉, even if you're eating a high water content type diet, I don't think you're getting enough liquids. You're going to feel much better. It'll help you with everything. Drink more liquids for sure. Definitely. Hey, Glenn, thanks for showing up. Glenn was really nice. You want to know when the next live stream was. I appreciate it. Yeah, Mike back. Hey, Mike, I just got... oh, I hope you didn't get fatter while I was gone, but I appreciate you showing up. I wonder if Gene noticed I'm going to be back today. I want to see how Gene's doing too. Enjoy your trip. I'm sure you'll enjoy. Oh, thanks. Actually, my wife has family in Rome, so we're going to meet some family there and everything. So it should be a lot of fun. Okay, so let's get back to this study. Okay, so one group on the early time restricted eating, right, only ate between 7 in the morning, 3 p.m. The other group, the control group, had a 12-hour eating window. They both ate 500 calories less. And what happened is that the early time restricted eating group, I forget what was the time frame in this study. I'm going to guess 14 weeks, but I'm not quite sure. I forgot. You know, but next time I'll let you know. The early time restricted eating group lost 2.3 kilograms more. So that's a good amount of more weight than the people who ate within the 12-hour eating window. So people who are into time restricted eating, intermittent fasting, actually absolutely love this study. Because not only did it show that it worked so well, it worked better than just calorie restriction. It also helped lower systolic blood pressure. That's the top number, so it improved blood pressure. And and they even lost a greater percent of body fat, so it wasn't just weight loss. But then the researchers, I think they were almost a little surprised by how well early time restricted eating worked. So then they looked into the research a little bit more. Like they analyzed the early time restricted eating people's diet compared to the 12-hour people eating diet, and they determined that the people who did early time restricted eating, even though they were only supposed to be in a 500 calorie deficit, they actually were in a 700 calorie day deficit. They ate 200 calories less, which is really interesting, which I think is really important too. because I'm going to pull up a couple of other studies later in this presentation saying that people who do early time restricted eating, it reduces your appetite. And some people always felt that maybe eating breakfast does reduce your appetite. Plus, I always found that it's so easy to be in a calorie deficit or just to reduce calories when you're giving yourself a smaller eating window. So that's why I always felt that, even at my course, my early time is, I have this like 4-week low carb intermittent fasting course. Like I sell it for like $97, $96, I forget. And I go through a whole 4-week program talking about how to be in a calorie deficit without counting calories if you're intermittent fasting and time restricted eating. So most people, 90% of the people in my opinion, once they reduce their eating window, they're just going to eat less. And that's what this proved too. So that's a good takeaway as well. Hey, Nicholas is here. Hey, I'm glad you showed up, Nicholas. Okay, let's see how Nicholas is doing. Hey, Mike. Hope you're well. I'm at 155 pounds. That sounds great. Started my resistance training journey yesterday. I did about 30 minutes of training. I feel really sore and achy. Is that a good thing? Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, I wouldn't want you to be. This is my rule when it comes to being sore and achy. First of all, being sore is not necessarily an indication that you had a good workout, because certain movements will make you sore as opposed to others. Like when you eccentrically load a muscle, like in the stress position, that creates soreness. And what I mean by that is that, concentric, eccentric load. Like for example, when you're making a bicep, see, I'm making a bicep, my muscle is shortening, that's a concentric contraction. When I lengthen it, like say I'm lowering a weight and my muscle is being elongated under, say, a curl, that's an eccentric load. Certain exercise, like if you're doing a fly where you're holding dumbbells and then you're stretching the muscle under load, that will create soreness more than just doing a bench press, which is more like a concentric type peak contraction. So I would say that the next day when you work out, you should have an awareness that you did work out, but you shouldn't be so sore and achy that you can't do anything you want. Like it's like if you want to go play tennis or just go play basketball or just fool around, you shouldn't be so sore like, oh, I can't move, because you can overdo it. And there's, and basically the harder you work out, the more you might need more recovery. So don't go by soreness as an indication necessarily, but I think it's okay if you're sore. I mean, hey, you get sore when you're not used to it. Also, I really want to get rid of this lower belly fat. It's really flat but flabby at the same time. I know, but you've lost a good amount of weight pretty quickly, Nicholas. So just give it time. I think you're gonna have the ideal body you want. You're a young guy. You're in great. You're working out. You're eating really well. You're gonna do incredibly well. Let's see what Chris got. Okay, Chris Davis. Yes, I eat 5 whole. Okay, Chris is responding, I think, to maybe Jeff's comment or Miller's comment. Yeah, I eat the Vital Farms too. Those are my favorite eggs. Those pasture-raised eggs. So yes, Chris eats 5 whole Vital Farm organic pasture-raised 108 soft pro. Oh, this is great. And I drink 2 16-ounce Pellegrino and the bottle of 32 ounces of alkaline water, 1 cup of cold. Oh no, that's much better then. So you're at 64. At 228 though, I still would probably go a little bit more. I don't want you like up at night, you run into the bathroom the whole night. I mean, try to drink the liquids during the day if you can. And I'm not sure what, and I think you said Texas, right? So it's kind of hot there too. So you drink a little bit more water. See if you can go another 16 ounces if you can and see how you feel. Okay, so that's the first study saying how great it is to do this early time restricted eating. Okay, so I hope you're with me. Okay, let's talk about I know I also don't want to throw people off too, because I'm still a big believer in just doing normal intermittent fasting, normal time restricted eating. I don't even know if normal is the right term, more common, like a 1680 or an 18/6. I did it for a decade where I always skip breakfast. There's still tremendous benefit to just like skipping breakfast and eating from 12 to 8 or eating from like 1 to 5 and doing an 18/6. I did it for decades. I loved it. And a lot of the earlier research was somewhat mixed in that. They were saying I can pull up a study that'll tell you there is no difference, that it works just as well whether you're skipping breakfast or skipping dinner. But it seems like the new research is leading more towards it is better to eat breakfast or eat earlier in the day. So I don't want you to stop intermittent fasting or time restricted eating if socially it just doesn't fit into your schedule to eat breakfast and skip dinner. You know what I mean? Keep doing what you're doing. There's still, in my opinion, tremendous benefit. Like I said, it's probably better to eat earlier if you can due to your circadian rhythm, but it still has to fit into your lifestyle. So there are still tremendous benefits. So I don't want you to think that I'm contradicting myself. Stick with it if you have to skip breakfast. It's still great. But if you can, like I have a couple of hacks for that too. A couple of hacks would be, if you want to, you can do maybe a protein shake at 10 o'clock, only 100 calories, right? You can take, I know DD asked about this in a comment on the YouTube channel. You can take an essential amino acid powder. I know Jeff's into that too, which is almost no calories, and get the equivalent of taking in 25, 30 grams of protein, right? You can do you can do a couple things if you want to kind of like slightly break your fast, but still get most of the benefits if you don't want to eat anything in the morning. Okay, hey, Gene is, oh, thanks, Gene. Thanks for showing up. Sorry I haven't been around. Gene, hey, Mike, miss you. Thought you were going to do your lives on a different day. You know, I probably am. That's another thing I know, Gene. I'm trying to figure out how to do this, because I find I don't want to keep on missing Sundays, and it's getting a little bit more challenging for me on Sundays, because you know, actually both my kids now are they're seniors. I have twins, are seniors in college, and I know I'm going to be visiting them a lot on the weekends because they're last year and all that. Like, I went to see my son yesterday. I was almost going to spend the night there, and then I would have missed the live stream this morning. I didn't want to miss the live stream this morning because I missed so many. So I might go with a different day than Sundays at 11 or Sundays at 12. So if you guys and gals have any ideas like times you would like, I'm thinking maybe Friday afternoon. But if I did the afternoon, I know I get a lot of followers from the UK. It might be too late. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna really look into it, because I really want to do one a week and never miss. So I may have to switch the day. Let's see. Okay, Nicholas, thanks, Mike. Why is the last lower belly fat so hard to get rid of? I can see my abs underneath my chest, but the lower part is not. I know it's really hard, especially for guys. It's very, unfortunately, it's somewhat of a genetic thing. If you look at gals, like women, for some reason, sometimes they get their abs shredded, right? And then they get a little bit of body fat in the hips and butt, right? That just happens. I used to train a bunch of bodybuilders earlier in my career, like 30 years ago, and it was so interesting. Once you start putting them in a calorie deficit, they start getting really lean. Some guys and gals will hold weight on their legs. Some people will hold weight in their upper chest. I mean, it's just bizarre. I mean, unfortunately, your body type is you're holding it in your low abs, but you'll get rid of it. Just stay the course. It will go for sure. Let's see what Jeff's got. The days after tennis, I often put some protein shake in my coffee in the morning. On other days, I just put half and half. I think that's a good idea, Jeff. Actually, I have to say, I still think you were gonna get like pretty much all the benefit of intermittent fasting, time restricted eating, if you're skipping breakfast, but just throw a little protein in something, like maybe a little collagen protein or a little whey protein in your coffee or something, or even like a low calorie like Quest type protein bar. It's gonna break your fast a little bit, but it's so minimal, the blood sugar spike. Just don't do like like a higher carb, a higher sugar type thing with the protein. If you're sticking to more like a later time restricted eating intermittent phase, that will mess you up a little bit. Let's say what DD's got. Okay, DD. I'm so bad with the abbreviation MFP. I'm not even sure what that means. My weight goal is 175 pounds. Should my grams of protein be 175 grams equals 35%, or 225 45%? I will take 2,000 calories to keep my carbs at 100 grams. Okay, you're 175. You could go 175 grams of protein. I don't think you have to go quite that much. I'm curious to know what your goal weight would be. Let's say your goal weight is 150. I would go more with 150 grams of protein for the day. I mean, there's all different formulas I use. Like if you know exactly what your body fat is, you can go 0.9 grams per pound of lean body weight. That's another great formula. Another formula I use with someone, that if you want to go at 175, you go 0.7 times 175. But I think if you ate like 150 grams of protein a day, let's say your goal weight is 150, that would be good. A good calorie deficit is somewhere around 1,700, 1,750. You can go 2,000, but if you're not losing, what I would probably do is I would probably cycle a little bit. Meaning that if you want to go 2,000 calories one day, maybe go 1,750 the next day, or maybe even go like goal weight. You can go 2,000 one day, 1,500 the next day. I really like that because it minimizes that metabolic adaptation. I don't know if you've been dieting on and off for many, many years. You've been yo-yo dieting a little bit in the past. I know a lot of gals have done that. Your metabolism could be like slightly off. I like going like, higher some days, lower the other days, which is really good because the more you eat, it kind of jumpstarts your metabolism. Like always keep your protein the same, say that 150 grams, and then you can just cycle your calories, like go 2,000 one day, maybe 1,500 the next, or 2,000 2 days, 1,500 2 days. That could be really good. I like the 100 grams of carbs. I think that's a great sweet spot. 400 calories of carbohydrates, hopefully in the form of fruits and vegetables. So that should give you energy for your workouts and keep it going. Plus, I think a little bit of carbs I think is good. I think you can do great with that. Let's see. So what Chris says, okay, I take the amino acid and water. That's great, but it tastes. I know it tastes really bad. Is there another way? Okay, let me read this. This is what Chris is saying. I take the amino acids in water, but it tastes really bitter. Yes, if you're doing a straight up unflavored amino acid, maybe you bought it in bulk, those essential aminos, they will taste horrible. That's just how they are. Is there any way to make it better? Thanks for answering all my questions. Sure. I mean, if you want to throw in a little, you can buy like monk fruit in the package. It's really cheap. You know, the natural heat stevia. You can throw that in there. I don't know. I think we'll mess up your coffee. Or you can buy, it's more expensive, but you can buy the flavored ones. I like Ben Greenfeld's one, 𝘾𝙊𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉𝙂. That's but it's expensive though. It's like $45.50 a container. It's like, you know, it could be like $2 a serving. I know I mentioned this in the past. I had a great one that was on sale on Amazon, but it was gone. It's gone. It was what was it? Vegan, you know, something like that. I think the name of it was. I know. There's no way around the taste of it unless you're buying the sweetened ones, or you can sweeten it yourself. Let's see, DD. I worked out 10 hours last week and make sure to do at least 10,000 steps. Oh, that's great. A day and no result as of yet. I've been doing 16-8, 18-8 for a few years. Plateaued yo-yo for 2 years. Okay, but you did initially lose some weight, right? Sometimes you may, okay, another thing you may want to do, DD, there's a couple of things. I find that, first of all, if you've been yo-yoing and you feel like you're stuck, sometimes it's a good idea, and I like to recommend to people, just first off, just like reset everything and maybe just take a diet break. Meaning that take 2 weeks. I know it could be a little disconcerting, like you might not want to do it. Maybe like take 2 weeks, eat really good healthy food, go more maintenance calories. In your case, if you're, you know, it would be more like if you're 175, like maybe eating 22, 23, 2,400 calories for a couple of weeks, eat a good amount of protein, reset your metabolism to some degree, and then restart, and then go into the calorie deficit again. You can do 16-8, you can 18-6. Like I said, maybe do 1,500 calories one day, 2,000 calories the next day. It's so important to take in enough protein is key, and I think you'll do well. Your metabolism might be just a little out of whack right now. If you feel like you're doing everything right, nothing's working, you may have to reset. And another thing you could do, and I've done this with people too, after the diet break, you can also do things like, you know, 1 24-hour fast once a week. Like every Monday, you fast for 24 hours. I don't know if that will be difficult to you. Kind of like an 𝘾𝙊𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉𝙂 type thing. You know, you maybe just eat breakfast or you just eat dinner, something like that, and then do the 16-8, 18-6, cycling your calories. I mean, don't give up. You'll figure it out. And keep on showing up here. And I mean, I'll help you any way I can. Okay, 205 is my current weight, 175. Oh, okay, 175 is your goal. Okay, then you're good. So just kind of change everything I said. So it would be 2,000 calories will be your deficit. And then you can go to maybe 1,750 as your, just to cycle even a little bit more aggressively. So 2,000, 1,750 on and off. But maybe you do want to take a diet break for a couple of weeks. And maybe you want to try a 24-hour fast once a week. You might be a little bit of insulin resistant, even though you're doing low carb, if you've been yo-yoing for a while. And I have found that people who are like doing everything right and they can't lose weight, they're probably a little insulin resistant. So you have to I did a video on this too. That you may have to do something somewhat extreme just to kind of break that cycle a little bit. But first, I always recommend a diet break for a couple of weeks just to kind of reset everything. And you could be, I don't know if you're nutrient deficient, you know, maybe, you know, sometimes with these fasting strategies, if you're doing it for a couple of years, you might be low on vitamin D, you might be low on potassium, magnesium, you know, you'd be surprised, you get caught a little bit, and that kind of throws things off too. That's why I always like that 2-week diet break reset. It kind of just makes sure you're eating healthy. I take a multivitamin too. I like Alive. You can take the Alive Woman's. I like that multivitamin too. But we'll talk more and more about it. We'll get you back on track. Oh, MyFitnessPal, great, cool. So my kids are so, my son texts me constantly with these abbreviations. I don't know what the guy's talking about. I mean, it's funny. It's funny. All the younger. Brian Sweeney, hey, thanks for showing up, Brian. Do you believe in counting your calories on your feasting days with alternate day fasting or eating intuitively? I would say if you're doing it, I've been counting calories and looking things up, from the age of like 20, from like bodybuilding and things like that. So I just kind of know intuitively, and just from looking at my plate and how I eat, relatively how many calories. Calories definitely count. I would say if you're doing well and you're reaching your goals and you're really happy, I think intuitively is easier and better, especially alternate day fasting. You're probably in a pretty good calorie deficit. I'm not sure if you're doing strict alternate day fasting. Okay, for people who don't know, alternate day fasting is you're pretty much eating every other day. A lot of the research, though, when you look at the studies on alternate day fasting, they let people take in, say, 600 to 700 calories even on your fasting day. So, for example, you're fasting for 36 hours. You're allowed to take 600-700 calories, and then you give yourself like an 8-hour eating window when you do eat. If you do it strict, that means you're not taking in any calories on that 36-hour fast, and then you're eating on your 8-hour eating window. And most of the studies show that you don't count calories because you're in such a good calorie deficit for not eating for 36 hours. I would say if you're doing well, Brian, I would just do it intuitively. But I would say real important is try to eat as healthy and nutritiously as you possibly can, in your eating window. Make sure you're really getting a good amount of protein for sure. Eat as much protein as you possibly can. Definitely, if you can, I don't know if you're doing 2-3 meals, but really go heavy on the protein if you can. Get some fiber, eat fruits and vegetables, eat like I'm going to be talking about here. And in my opinion, I don't know how much weight you want to lose or what your goals are, but I wouldn't stay on that for a super long period of time. I think that's a great short-term strategy. Do it for a few weeks or so, unless you're working with like a doctor and you want to lose 100 pounds and something like that. And then I would want your blood work done and just things monitored if you're going to do it. I did a video on that, like strict alternate day fasting, if you have to lose like 50 pounds or more. And I do like you to work with a doctor if you're going to be doing it, because you can get caught. You can get your electrolytes, you can get low, you can be malnourished to some degree if you stay on it for like 6 months or things like that. But then I read all the Jason Fung's books and all these different fasting books. I mean, there are people who literally have water fasted for over a year. Is that mind-blowing? Is that incredible? There was one, I forget what the record was. It was something like 360 some odd days. But I think they were taking in electrolytes, and they were monitored by a doctor and all that, which is kind of really incredible stuff. Here, let's see, Nicholas. Okay, Nicholas, should I keep fasting every now and then just to get rid of that last bit of lower belly fat? It's really minimal, but keeps me flabby. I don't know. You could fool around with a little bit of, maybe do the fasting intermittently. But in your case, since you're pretty much at your goal weight or really close to it, and you're working out, the main thing for you, Nicholas, I would say, is just make sure you're eating enough protein, like I've been talking about this whole presentation, and just make sure you're in a good calorie range. In your case, maybe you want to do maintenance a number of days a week, and maybe 2-3 days a week, just go into like a few hundred calorie deficit just to get rid of that last little bit of lower belly fat. So maintenance, deficit 2-3 days. And hopefully, I think it's just going to happen for you anyway, because you're doing so well. Okay, this is Chris Davis. My wife has hypothyroid and taking thyroid 300. She's gotten mixed opinions about fasting. What are your thoughts about long and intermittent fasting? I know there definitely is a little correlation between the thyroid and fasting. I know Dr. Burr. I mean, so many of the doctors online do it. To be truthful, I kind of like to stay in my lane, meaning that I'm not a doctor. I am certified American College of Sports Medicine as an exercise physiologist, and I have an undergraduate degree, and I've been studying this stuff forever. I would say, I would, if you wanted to experiment with it, I would say she can experiment with it. Because when you really think about it, like in her case, I wouldn't do like a 7-day fast, or I wouldn't do like things like that, something real aggressive like a 3-day fast or a 7-day fast. But really 16-8 with healthy foods, it's not really aggressive fasting. It would probably put her in a calorie deficit. It would probably be a good thing. But I definitely would run it by her doctor for sure, and just see what the doctor, the healthcare provider thinks. You know, 16.8, 18.6, if you're eating healthy, is such an, I don't think she's going to have any issues with it whatsoever. But she can experiment with it, and she will see things. I have a number of clients at my gym and that I've worked with who same exact thing, hypo, both, and they've done really, really well with the intermittent fasting. I just wouldn't put them on an extended fast because I mean your metabolism obviously affected by the thyroid for sure. Okay, yes, I have 100 pounds. Lost so far, 100 pounds. Oh, D, you're killing it. You're doing great. You're just hitting plateaus. It's just totally normal. But my body stopped at 100. Yo for 200. Okay, I would do that. Take a diet break for a couple of weeks, then start cycling your calories from 2,000 to 1,750 or even 2,000, 1,500. Make sure you're eating 150 grams of protein a day. You can stick with your 100 grams of carbs and make sure they're fruits and vegetables, things like that, and it's going to start working out for you again. You've done great, 100 pounds. That's an accomplishment. You should feel wonderful, even though you've been stuck for a little bit now. Okay, I did get fatter, but it's my own fault. It's hard to break bad habits, and my roommates buy me too much. I know, that's funny. That's those trigger foods. Your roommates buy you those trigger foods. You know, I've done videos on that, and you guys and gals have heard that I talk about trigger foods all the time. The trigger foods are the foods that once you start eating them, you just can't stop. So I always tell people, make a list of your trigger foods, and not only do you have to make a list for yourself, you have to make a list and let all your loved ones and your friends know, please, don't bring me these trigger foods. I always talk about myself. My wife knows that I love potato chips, and when we first started dating and started living together, all that, she would bring me potato chips all the time. I said, please, stop bringing me potato chips. I know you want to make me feel good, but I can't have potato chips in the house. I will eat a bag of potato chips like this. I mean, I just love them. French fries too. I really try to stay away from them. It's interesting. I remember reading this book. I don't know if you remember 𝘾𝙊𝘼𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉𝙂. It's interesting because I've totally changed my diet philosophy over the years. Many years ago, when that low-fat, high-carb diet was really popular, the Dr. Ornish's books, the 𝘾𝙊𝘼𝘾𝙃 books, Fit or Fat, he was talking about, he had a client who their trigger food was like French fries. Like if they were ordered like a hamburger or anything, they would if the French fries came, they would just eat all the French fries. And sometimes you even tell the waiter or waitress, please don't bring me French fries, just bring me the hamburger. So he had a client that half the times, waiters will forget, they'll bring over the hamburger and French fries. And what his client would do is that he would instantly douse the French fries with a tremendous amount of salt to make them almost unedible, because he knew that if he had French fries in front of him, he was going to eat them. There were certain foods that people have. For me, it's potato chips. I don't know what your trigger foods are. So Gwen, just tell your roommate, please, don't bring those foods into the room. If they want them themselves, I know it's a little bit more challenging, but try to do the best you can. I lost my menstrual cycle, at 36. Well, 42 now. Not sure if it has to do with weight loss. It could when you're really aggressive. Really, that's really common with athletes too. I trained so many athletes, especially gals who, they restrict their calories too much, and they're running I work with some runners. Both my kids are incredible runners, collegiate runners. My son's a collegiate runner. My daughter was a great high school runner, but she's also a good college runner too. And you hear about that. People who are exercising a lot and then they restrict their calories can lose their menstrual cycle. But obviously, you got to talk to your doctor about that, right? I'm 51. And 150, yeah, that's pretty good. 5'1". I mean, I'm sure you want to lose a little bit, but that's, I think you can do it, Gwen. I mean, I know you want to be a little bit light, but that's not a crazy amount of weight. I mean, you're an okay weight there. If you got a good amount of muscle on you too, right? Love chips. Yeah, I know. Me too. Popcorn too. Yeah, I'm not big on popcorn. That's funny, but I love potato chips. I absolutely love them. Hey, my man Steve. Oh. What about fries? And yeah, I know Steve. It's funny because me and Steve grew up together. Like my dear, I love Steve. He's the best. And that's the thing it was even in that movie Diner. Remember that movie Diner with I forget the guy's name. He's like a famous handsome guy. And that was a big thing. It was a big thing when we were kids, when we were like teenagers. Like me and Steve would do this. We would order French fries, and then you would get like a brown gravy instead of putting ketchup. And you kind of it's like Thanksgiving. You would dip the French fries in brown gravy. I loved it. As a kid. I'm sure I would love it now, but I don't even keep any brown gravy in the house or French fries or anything like that. And, I will have a sweet potato or a yam or baked potato, something like that, but I really so rarely would ever have any type of fried foods. But you're right, Steve. That would be a trigger food for me for sure. French fries and brown gravy, absolutely. And I love. Thanks for going to showing up and say hi to everybody for me. I gotta come visit you, and I will do it. I would love to do it this winter if I possibly can. I would love it. Hey, Gene, thanks again for the super chat. Gene is so nice to me. Every time he shows up, he gives me a super chat, which I really appreciate. Okay, I think I asked this already, but I train first thing in the morning. How does that work with 16/8 intermittent fasting schedule? Okay, I mean, Gene, I think you can train fasted if you want to. I think it's totally okay. I personally like to do all my cardio fasted, but when it comes to my resistance training, I do like to take in a protein shake maybe right before, with maybe a little bit of something with like a nitric oxide enhancer. So I may put some beet powder in there. I've talked about these nitric oxide enhancers before. Nitric oxide is a molecule that opens up the arteries, good for blood flow, gives you good pump in the gym. So if I'm doing resistance training, and my goal when I'm resistance training is to put on more muscle, get a good pump in the gym, I will do maybe a protein shake, maybe a scoop of whey or plant protein with maybe some beet powder, because beets are naturally high in nitrates, which helps the body make nitric oxide. I may even put a little L-citrulline in there, which is a precursor for arginine, which helps make nitric oxide. And I may want just a little bit of carbs for energy and that. But most of my cardio work, I do fasted, because you burn a little bit more body fat. I like to train fasted doing my cardio, and I'm not necessarily interested in performance. I really want the fitness benefits, and I want to keep my body fat low. So I think you can do it a couple of different ways, Gene. I mean, it depends when you stop eating. I'm assuming you're still on that very low calorie diet. You can experiment with it, but I don't think you can really go wrong whether you're doing it fasted or not. I would experiment with both. If you wanted to follow my lead and do your resistance training with a little bit of food, but do your cardio fasted, I love that. I love that concept. Well, hope that answered your question. Hey, James, thanks for showing up again. Cool. James, good morning, Mike. Will a little collagen with a little creatine mixed in water right after my morning workout break a fast? Because I like to eat high protein at 11 a.m. I drink this at 5 a.m. Unfortunately, technically it will, James, but I think you should do it. Because I know you're into working out and all that. A little bit of collagen. First of all, collagen, okay, the amino acid profile of collagen will give you less of an insulin spike than like a whey protein or a plant protein that's high in leucine. Okay, for example, like collagen is not a complete protein. It's interesting because I know Didi asked this in a question on the YouTube channel. There are essential and non-essential amino acids. The EEAs, the essential amino acids, are the 9 ones that the body can make on their own. What produces the most like protein synthesis or the most like hypertrophy response is leucine, which is one of the branched chain amino acids. That's why like whey protein is so good for putting on muscle, because it's really high in leucine. But there are even plant proteins where they mix the proteins. Like they'll take pea, they'll take hemp seed, maybe they'll take garbanzo beans, and if you mix those 3 together, you can get a high amount of leucine. See, collagen is a little bit more for like connective tissue, for like your skin, your hair, your nails. It does have some leucine in it, but nowhere near as much. It's missing tryptophan. That's why it's not a complete protein. It's nowhere near. It won't give you as high of a protein spike as like a whey protein. So I think you're going to slightly break your fast. But what are you talking about, right? You're probably taking maybe 20 grams of protein. I think it's good, and it's gonna slightly break it, but not much. And the creatine's not going to break it at all. And creatine's like probably the best muscle building supplement you can possibly take. Creatine is great. It volumizes the muscle cell. It definitely makes you stronger. It's good for muscular endurance. Good for your brain health too. Back to that guy Andrew Huberman, the professor from Stanford. He takes 5 grams of creatine every single day. I didn't realize this. He said there were more studies on creatine for brain function, cognitive function than it is for sport, for athletic performance, which really is. I think creatine is an incredible supplement to take. I cycle on and off it. I'm not on it now, but I cycle on and off it. I'm a fat chipmunk. It's not a good way. Okay, Gwen. So you want to be lighter. I mean, I'm curious to know what your goal weight is. But obviously follow all my leads. Whatever your goal weight is, maybe you can do that calorie wise one day. Let's say 5-1. Maybe you want to weigh 120. So eat 1,200 calories one day, maybe 1,500 the next. Eat 120 grams of protein every single day, and then minimize your carbs with just fruits and vegetables, and you'll do great. And stick to one of these fasting. If you can do the early time restricted eating, it would be great. Let's say Chris, hey, how do you do how do you do the super chat? I would, oh, thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. You know, I'm not totally sure. I really should know this. I should be promoting it to try to get some money for my channel and for myself. I think you just, I don't know, maybe Gene can help you explain how to do it. I think you just hit one of that super chat icon in the comment section, but like below comments. I'm not even quite sure, you know, but thanks for even trying. I appreciate it, Chris. Let's see what Jeff's got. Do you ever get hungry before one meal on Sundays? If so, do you just drink more coffee and mineral water? That's pretty much what I do, Jeff. You know, you're right on track with me. Yes, sometimes I get a little bit of hungry. I found that, okay, this is interesting. With this early time restricted eating, when I tried it in the past, I found that I would get a little bit hungry in the evening. But since I took this trip and really did it like for a week straight, I feel like I don't now. And yes, I do get a little hungry on Sundays, but Sundays is an easy day for me in that there's a lot of mental energy because I'm doing this live stream and I'm preparing the slides. But I don't do too much physical activity besides just walking, which really helps. But if I, like for example, after this live stream, if I went to my gym and started pumping iron and did like an hour-long workout, yes, I would be hungry. But on the days that I'm just walking, I'm okay, you know, which is great. Let's see what Gene's got. I'm not that hungry on the OMAD day. So if I worked out at 7 a.m., it's not a good idea to wait until noon. No, I don't think so, Gene. I know the research is a little mixed, and I used to live and die by that book called Nutrient Timing by John Levy, he was the guy, this is like 20 years ago, that really popularized that like anabolic window where it's really important to take in protein pre, during, and post-workout, like right after. And then there was some research that said, oh, that's not necessarily true. But I've been looking at some new research, and I've been following some other stuff that like Peter T is talking about, that other doctor from Harvard, like an Andrew Huberman type guy. And they are talking about that it really is important. I'm going to talk about this in some of these other slides, that taking like 30 to 60 grams of protein earlier in the day, especially post-workout. I think it's probably a good idea, Gene, for you to take in some protein. Even, I know you're doing a few whey protein shakes. Just do a protein shake. I mean, you know, within a half hour after your workout. 100 calories, 25 grams of protein. I think you'll get much more benefit than not, as opposed to waiting until 12 o'clock. But overall, because I don't want to contradict myself, it's still more important than just overall taking enough protein throughout the whole day. So even if you did wait till 12, it's not like going to have that much of a negative effect, but I think you'll probably do better taking it in right after your workout. I think you'll probably do. But hey, Chris, hey, you figured it out. Thanks for the super chat. Really cool. I really appreciate it. Thank you. That's great. Okay. Oh, you hit the, okay, so this is how you do it. Gene's saying you hit the $sign for a super chat, which is great. Chris, thanks. That's great. Didi, let's see. Faster call. You know, Didi, I'm really sorry. I know you left a question before. I'm not sure. I know what HIIT, high intensity, is. I don't know what LISS stands for either. I guess I'm getting too old for all these abbreviations. Okay, fasted cardio. You know, I like two types of cardio workouts are my favorite. I like that long, easy base building, which is pretty much that 𝘾𝙾𝘾𝙾, Dr. 𝘾𝙾𝘾𝘾. I read all his texts, but I love all his stuff, which is basically you take 180, you minus your age, and that's the high end of your aerobic zone. So base building. So I think you should do like base building, long, easy aerobic activity as often as you can. That would be like taking your 30-minute walk, your 60-minute walk at a really comfortable level. And then that high intensity, that HIIT training, I like those short, hard intervals, meaning that like 30 seconds hard, 90 seconds easy, maybe a couple times a week, maybe only 5 rounds. You know, I don't think you should kill yourself. It's not good for your heart to stay up there too long. If you did, you know, maybe 2 12-minute high HIIT type training workouts cardiovascularly, and then those long base building as often as frequently as possible. That's my two favorite. You know, the hybrid one would be just like steady state, where you're maybe like 75% of your max. But I like more specializing, where you do the HIIT and then you do the long base building. Let's see what Gwen's got. Yes, 120 would be great. So yes, Gwen, 120 pounds would be a good goal weight for you. I got down to 118 before. Seems like so hard. You can do it, Gwen. You can do it. Keep on showing up here. We'll keep you motivated for sure. So 20 grams pre, 40 grams post workout training. Yeah, I don't even think you have to go that high, DD. I think you can go a little bit less. I mean, 60 grams. You could go 60 if you're only eating 2 meals a day with a protein shake, but I think you can do a little bit less. I think a gal at your weight, 30, 40 grams, I think would probably be enough. Low intensity steady state, yes. Oh, that's what it stands for, low intensity steady state. Gotcha, Jeff. That's great. Cool. So that would be like the base building. Yeah. So you're right on, D. That's great. Yes, low intensity steady state. Cool. I should know all these abbreviations. Are lagoons healthy? Yeah, I think the lagoons are healthy. A little on the carby side, but I think they're healthy as long as they're thoroughly cooked, right? I know Dr. Gunji talks about that. You know that if you ate 2 raw kidney beans, you die from the lectins and all the crazy stuff. And as long as they're properly cooked, right? All right, so let's talk about protein. I want to go over like why it's so important to take in protein like earlier in the day based on studies and things. So let me blow up the study. Dietary protein intake in daily meals influenced by musculoskeletal hypertrophy versus the muscle collect. Meaning, like, this talks about circadian rhythm, and this study talks about why it really is important. This study compared when people ate most of their protein earlier in the day versus late in the evening, and what this study showed, what they concluded, is that protein intake at breakfast may be better for maintaining muscle mass. Which I think there is more and more research. There's another study that I read on that recently too. That's what Andrew Huberman's talking about, Peter T's talking about, a lot of these people are talking about. That's why, back to Gene and even myself now, I switched over. Like, now I've been taking in protein like 10 o'clock pretty much every single day, and I really like it. I think my body fat even went down a little bit. This was one of the first times where I went on vacation. And like I said, I ate mostly protein and fruit, which is really interesting. I'll show you some of the pictures. I think that at the end I have some pictures of exactly how I was eating. I was eating like a ton of fruit and then some protein. Then in the middle of the day, I would eat like a protein shake, and then we had an early dinner like 4 or 5 o'clock. It was great. I really loved it. It really worked for me. When is the best time to do HIIT? I don't think there is really a best time, when it comes to, because just think the main reason why you're doing that high intensity interval type training is just to increase your VO2 max, your maximal oxygen consumption. And there's no really good or bad time to do it. I just think whatever fits into your overall exercise schedule or strategy. You can even I think you can get benefit even just doing it once a week. Just a 12-minute. Like I'm saying it, I don't know if I would do it though, like post resistance training, because you're already tired from your resistance training. Want to hurt yourself. It's something I probably would do first or just separately, and I don't think you have to do it more than a couple days a week. Right? So there's just another study just pointing out how there is some good research saying that taking in protein earlier in the day is a good thing, based on circadian rhythm, based on just other mechanisms within the body. So that's why this early time restricted eating, I think that's one of the reasons why I think it is doing so well. This is another study talking about how eating less during dinner. Here it is, see, I'll blow it up. Eating less during dinner is a good thing. It seems like the study looked at how circadian rhythm affects glucose tolerance, meaning that how quickly you will clear glucose post-meal. And some people feel like the better you control glucose over the length of your lifetime is such a big indicator of longevity. Like, unfortunately, like being type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetic, and just having like, your glucose on an elevated level like consistently is really bad for longevity. And you're insulin resistant, you get all these different issues. And this particular study talked about people who just took in calories earlier in the day, like curbed the amount of food they were eating late in the evening, which were much more insulin sensitive, and just they controlled blood sugar and blood glucose, and so much better. So eating those big meals, it just comes down to eating a lot of food late at night is just not a good thing. And I've made the mistake like that. I was even doing 18-6. Sometimes I'd eat 18-6, like not have a meal till like 3 o'clock, and then have my last meal at like 9. And I was doing okay, but it really probably wasn't a good idea. First of all, you don't sleep as well because you're not giving yourself enough time to digest the food. It's really good to go to sleep on an empty stomach, like not eat anything 3-4 hours before you go to bed. I think it's good for your circadian rhythm, helps you sleep better, good for melatonin, good for all those important things. So I just wanted to reinforce that with the study. And what study it is? Okay, this is the study I was talking about earlier in the live stream. It's somewhat a little counterintuitive. You would think that if you do eat earlier in the day, right, you're going to be hungry. You're going to be more hungry. But this is saying no. That this study looked at early time restricted eating, people who ate at 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. versus people who just ate for 12 hours. And the people who did the early time restricted eating actually, what did they? Increase fat, right? Lost more body fat. So kind of like that other study I talked about. Plus, the main thing is they were less hungry. So they decreased the production of ghrelin. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone. Like when you don't eat, the body produces ghrelin to make you hungry. So this had a good hormonal effect. And this really all has to do, I think, with the circadian rhythm. Another great book, if you want to read it, is The Circadian Code by Dr. Panda. Now, I bought it on audio tape. I need to listen to it again, because I listened to it a couple of years ago. I loved it. It's a little longer, a little scientific, but it's a great book to read. I mean, I think the circadian rhythm thing is going to get really, really more and more present, getting a lot more popular. Okay. And let's go over this before I show you my exact meal plan. I just want to re-emphasize like how to calculate how much protein you should take, because protein is so key. I mean, probably the best way to do it, but it's the hardest way because you have to know what your body fat is to go with 0.9 grams per pound of lean weight. So for example, if you're 150 pounds, 20% body fat, you want to eat 108 grams of protein a day. That's a real great way of doing it. Another way is to do 1 gram per pound of body weight. That's if you're resistance training and doing that. Another way to do it is you can go, like I said, 0.7 if you want to eat a little bit on the lower side. And you can also use your goal weight with all these calculations if you're really overweight. If you have 100 pounds to lose, you can use these equations with your goal weight. Oh, Chris, thanks so much. I mean, you're really making my day here with these super chats. I love it. $9.99. I really appreciate it. Plus the other. So nice of you. Okay. I'm 43, type 2 diabetic, was taking insulin shots 3 times a day 9 weeks ago. I was 258 today. I am 228. My doctor has taken me off all medication. What is a good smoked salmon to add? Oh, that is so incredible, Chris. I'm so happy. It's interesting because this is kind of like these type of things, and Gene and Nicholas and all you guys and gals that show up, Gwen and everyone now, Dee Dee's showing up here, who show up every time. And because I don't really make, it's hard for me to sustain this because I'm, all my income comes from the gym. But when I hear stories like this, it makes me want to keep on making these videos and doing these live streams. It's such a great story because I'm so happy for you. The smoked salmon that I buy, smoked salmon can be somewhat expensive. I don't know if you have a Whole Foods near you, but I find the Whole Foods brand of smoked salmon, and it's pretty reasonable. Like 4 ounces is something like $6.99. It's on sale all the time, $7.99. Sometimes I get it for like 30% off that. I buy a lot of that. And then I know this is not near you, but my gym is in Mount Kisco, and there's a famous smoke shop in Mount Kisco that I go to all the time too. But it's kind of interesting. When you go there, it's a fortune. It could be like $29 a pound. But they package their local smoked salmon, and they put it in a local Italian deli right near me, and it's half the price. So I get it for like, I don't know, I think it's like $14, $15 a pound, something along the lines of that. It was even more than $20 a pound, so I'm not sure, but smoked salmon is expensive. I know. I think you're following me too, Chris. I mean, a lot of sardines. I mean, you do want those omega-3s, just like those essential amino acids. You want those essential fatty acids. You want those omega-3s. You may even want to take a supplement too. That's not a bad thing to do. It could be a less expensive way to get it, which I try to take at least 1 gram of that EPA every single day. I like Nordic Naturals, and I like Carlson's, are my 2 favorite brands of fish oil. But I would look into Whole Foods, or just well, you can freeze the smoked salmon too. So if you're catching on sale somewhere, you can buy a couple of pounds of it and freeze it. But I love smoked salmon. You see it in all my pictures. I'm going to pull up some pictures of some smoked salmon too. But once again, Chris, I really appreciate the 2 super chats. Really nice of you. Really cool. Let's see what Jeff's got. Chris. Okay, Chris says Sky High salmon is really good. That's what I'm boasting. Oh, that sounds good. Great. I'll have to check that out too, Jeff. That's great. Yikes. Is 60 grams of protein for me per meal each day. Okay, yikes. Is 60 grams of protein for me per meal each day in order to equal? I know it's a decent amount of protein. I don't think you have to go 175. Let's go with your goal. I forget. I'm losing track now with all the things. I forget I think you said you were 200, and your goal is your goal. I think your goal was 175 or 150. I just think a gal, maybe because guys a little bit more, I think you can totally be fine with 150 grams of protein, DD. So just think. So if you had, let's say you had 60 for 2 meals a day, that would be 120. So 4 ounces of chicken, fish, and meat would be 25. So if you had an 8-ounce piece of like salmon, or like grass-fed finished beef if you can, or some turkey or some chicken, That's going to be 50. You'll probably pick up another 10 just from eating your vegetables and things like that within the meal. Because even broccoli has a decent amount of protein in it. So you're with 2 good, like animal-based protein meals, you're going to be at 100 to 120. And then if you just added 1 protein shake, like say 1 scoop of whey protein isolate for 25, 30 grams, or say you ate a Quest bar with just 20, 21 grams of protein, or a no-cal protein bar, which is also high in fiber. I love both of those bars. You'll be at around that 150, even 120 grams of protein. I think you'll do pretty well with. And I'm a little bit on the high side. I'm not crazy high, but a traditional nutritionist, dietitian would say, oh, you don't need anywhere near that much protein. But I think you do if you look at the research. Well, let's see. I mostly buy, what is this? 𝘾𝙊𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉𝙂 brand. Oh, well. I don't know any of these brands. That's cool. Let's see what Gene's got. Okay. The last month on a very low calorie diet have been hard. I do a few days, then stop, then start back up again. I weighed 236 pounds this morning. I only lost about 8 pounds. I don't know, Gene. I think 8 pounds in October is not so bad. You know, I think that's still pretty good. And you might be just instinctively cycling your calories. Like you go very low calories. I think that's may even be better for you. I think you said you were going to go up to like 1,000, maybe even 1,200 on the very low calorie days. And then you went to like 2,000, you know. I think your body just may be craving the vitamins, the minerals, the nutrients. Either you can stick with that, doing it instinctively. I don't think losing 8 pounds, I think that's great. It's a little bit less than 1% of your body weight per week. I think 1% of your body weight per week is just aggressive, ideal. But even less than that, I think is still pretty good. You're losing 2 pounds a week. I think you're doing great. Just think you'll be your ideal weight before you know it, 2 pounds a week. And you got to live your life and be normal and have a little bit of fun, and you know what I mean. I mean, if you want to feel better about it, maybe you want to just schedule it more. Meaning that, you know, very low calorie, 3 days, 1 day, you know, maintenance or above maintenance, and maybe you'll feel like psychologically, maybe you'll feel better about it. But I think you're doing great. I think you're doing good. Okay, DD, trying. Okay, let's see. TR for having me, Mike. I've been following you for the last 2 years. Oh, great. But this is my first time I've been active. You are the first person that comes up on YouTube when I type in 2MAD. Oh, that sounds good. Thanks. I like that. Oh, so it's interesting. Most of my videos say they seem to rank okay for search, meaning that when people put in like a 2MAD or a 𝘾𝙊𝘾𝙃. But the key to growing on YouTube, and I just haven't been able to break through, is when your videos do well and suggested. What that means is that, like, say you're watching a Dr. Eric Berg video, or say you're watching, you know, one of these like Thomas DeLore, some people within my niche, like when their video goes up, my video, it would be great if my video would show up next to theirs, right next to suggested. That's how you grow a YouTube channel. Unfortunately, the algorithm has not caught on to my channel yet. If that starts happening to me, I'll blow up to 100,000 subscribers in a few months. It just hasn't happened. But I do well in search when people search, but I don't do well in browser, and I don't do well in suggested, which that's what I'm really working on. I would really help my channel grow. But if you guys and gals just share my videos with anyone you can, I would really, really appreciate it. My goal is 175. Okay. Yeah, I think, you know, Didi, I would say this. Stay between 120 grams to 150 grams of protein a day. Try to eat at least 120. So even if you did 50-50, that means 2 8-ounce servings of chicken, fish, or meat, or something like that. And then either a protein shake or maybe a couple of hard-boiled eggs. Try to go with a minimum of 120 without driving yourself nuts. Don't stuff yourself. Don't get yourself sick doing it. But try if you can. I think you can eat 2 8-ounce servings of chicken, fish, and meat. Like you have a little bit of salmon for dinner, and then maybe a little, you know, some turkey or some chicken for lunch, and then maybe a protein shake or a protein bar. Fluctuating down 20 pounds for the, that's still not so bad. Fluctuating down 20 pounds. I mean, you're 100 pounds down, which is awesome. Hey, Gene, you're killing me with these super chats. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much. This is the best. Once you figure out how to do it, you're really going for it. I love it. Okay, super chat. Should I take a longevity supplement such as Pro Health Longevity, NMN Pro 500 Enhanced Absorbed 1 gram? You know, Chris, I'm sorry to say, but I'm not. After this live stream, I will definitely look up those longevity supplements and see what's in them. If you want to give me a little idea of what's in them, it's interesting. Normally, this is a technical problem I had. Normally, I do these live streams with 2 screens, and my screen to the left is not working today. I don't know what's going on, because normally I would be able to pull it right up. But I don't think there are too many, unfortunately, like longevity supplements that have too many great things in it. I would definitely take a man's multivitamin. I take 2 different ones. I take New Chapter Men Over 50, which is a 100% whole natural diet, meaning there's nothing synthetic in that multivitamin. All the vitamins are fermented, meaning that they're easily absorbed. They're somewhat pre-digested. I take that. That's a low potency. And then I also take Alive Men Over 50, which is a combination of synthetic and whole natural, and it's more of a high potency. I like taking high levels of vitamin B. You know, it's funny. I don't know if you listen to 𝘾𝙊𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉𝙂, but you know, 𝘾𝙊𝙃𝙃𝙃, his podcast called The Drive. I've listened to every single one of them. Some of my clients are actually his patients. He's a Harvard doctor. He's specialized. I think he's the world leader in longevity. Him, and also, who's the other guy? Dave Sinclair. He wrote that anti-longevity book. He's got a podcast too, only 8 episodes, but they're all great. They're all great with longevity. I would start listening to 𝘾𝙊𝙃𝙃 for sure. I bring him up a lot. I mean, everything he says, but you know, he's done different things with his own personal life, but they're prescription type medicine. Like at one point, he was on metformin for longevity. I think rapamycin. Is that the other thing he was on? I'm not even sure, but I have to look and see exactly what's in that. I see a lot of the fitness guys on Instagram. You mean taking that particular supplement? I will definitely check it out after this, for sure. I'm going to take my walk, and then when I get home tonight, I will do that, and I'll respond to you in the comments. And you can always email me too. Anyone can always email me at 𝘾𝙊𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉𝙂@gmail.com, and I can always get back to you via email too. Or you can DM me on Instagram or something like that, and I'll try to get right back to you. Let's see what Gene's got. Okay. The hunger is very well controlled most of the time, but it's harder in the evenings or whenever I get bored. Yeah, I know. But one good thing about that is that if you know yourself and you know your pattern, you can try to correct for it or adjust for it like in advance. Meaning that, you know, like if you get hungry, I've talked about this before, say if you get hungry like 7 o'clock every single night, maybe at 7 o'clock you want to plan something. Either, you know, you watch one of your favorite shows, you call a friend, you call a loved one, you go take a walk, you jump on the treadmill at home, you do something. Like if you know it's consistent, and you know, you just try to break the pattern and distract yourself. I know that there's no easy way to do it. But also, too, Gene, even on those very low calorie days, if you have to have a little bit of protein late in the evening, have it. You know, what's the big deal? Right? I mean, eat a Quest bar or something like that. I know you've been eating the Quest bars a little bit, or just have a little piece of, like we said, the smoked salmon or something like that. Just don't go with a sugary, triggery type food. Just no trigger foods. But yeah, I think you are doing great. Okay, this is Jeff. Sounds familiar, DD. I lost 85 pounds a few years ago. Incredible. And then did a lot of yo-yo, but slowly going back up. Thankfully, not as high as I was, but still too much. I know I find, you know, since I've been training people 35, maybe even longer years, the workout's so easy. The diet is just a never-ending process, right? It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Eating healthy and controlling calories. It's one of the hardest things, even for me, even though I maintain a pretty good optimal weight. It's a full-time job. It's just how it is. Is it okay to eat fats and carbs together? This is interesting. And if so, when? I would say that's one of the things you do want to avoid, is to eat high glycemic carbohydrates with fat, because you don't want that big spike of insulin, and then you don't want a bunch of sugary carbs with the fat at the same time. I would try to, that was the one, and I did some videos on that. I would avoid that. And there's even research saying that if you can wait, like eat your protein and fat first when you eat your meals, and then take your carbs in later. Like if you're gonna do, like if I'm gonna do like a carb cycling, where maybe every 3-4 days I increase my calories and increase my carbohydrates, I try to do it separately, meaning that I may eat my salmon and my vegetables. I think fibrous carbs is okay with fat. Like if you're gonna eat vegetables or put like extra virgin olive oil on a salad, I think you're okay. But if you're going to eat rice or bread or grains, like I know there's been some research saying that if you can eat your protein and fat first and then wait 45 minutes and then have your carbs, you'll help control blood sugar better. So try not to do that. Try not to eat like rice with a bunch of butter in it, or try not to eat butter and bread or pasta like, you know, with cheese, or like Alfredo or penne vodka. Those are the things that just pile on the weight, you know. So I would try to avoid that if you can, D. But you can definitely do like a little bit of fruit or some vegetables, obviously, with your protein and with your fat. Okay, Nicholas. Mike, is it a good idea for me to go back to keto for a month? You know, Nicholas, I don't think you have to. I don't think for a month. I mean, I know you want to lose a little bit of lower belly fat, but I would focus on more and just getting in a good amount of protein, getting your workouts in, keeping an eye on calories. If you want to go into ketosis maybe for a few days here or there, like just go like low carb for a week, you might want to try that. But you've done so good. I don't think you have to do anything too extreme anymore. You're really, really on track and have done so well. Hey, Robin, let's see. I started working out 3 times a week. Now my back and knee is bothering me. Can I still intermittent fasting diet? Yeah, no, I mean, it's, you should probably, unfortunately, I mean, if I talk about it from time to time, I am so banged up. You know, like I said, I rode dirt bikes as a kid. I've surfed all over the world. I was a skateboarder, a skier. I've lifted weights. I've hurt myself 1,000 times on my knees. Had that knee operation that was a disaster for me. You probably jump into the workouts too aggressively, too hard. Some people feel intermittent fasting is good for reducing inflammation, which could be good for your injuries. Just ease up in the gym a little bit or with your workouts. You know, maybe do 2 days a week. You know, why don't you do some walking, you know, walk every day for a while and ease back into the workouts. Keep them short. Just think, when you're working out hard, it should be short. When you're working out easy, it can be long. You probably just jump into it too hard. I do it all the time. Progression, I find, is the hardest thing to understand and get. It's always was the hardest thing for me. Micro progression, I always want to just go for it. And like recently, my elbows are still killing me because when I turned 60 over the summer, I did this aggressive like workout schedule for a few weeks, and I gave myself my tendonitis, and my elbows have come back, and I can't get rid of it. Actually, my buddy Brian, who shows up to these live streams sometimes, he gave me some advice that was helping a little bit. I was rolling out my elbows, but I messed up. I do it all the time. I feel for you, Robin. Just ease up on the working out. Try the intermittent fasting. I think it's great. There's no downside to it. It can even help. But don't give up on the working out. Just ease up on it a little bit. When I finished, okay, this is Nicholas. When I finished the resistance training yesterday, I didn't ache at all. It was when I woke up the next day. Yeah, well, that's DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. It stands for DOMS, is the abbreviation for it. That's kind of how it should work, is that you're not initially sore, but it takes a little bit of response to the inflammation and things happen within the body. Some people are sore the most 2 days later. You work on a Monday, you're more sore on Wednesday. But just don't always be sore from every workout. You know, I would ease up a little bit, Nicholas, if you can. So here's DD. Let's see. I try to eat high carb, oats, sprouted toast, and low fat as meal 1. Okay. And then low carb, paleo, and high fat meals 2. Is that okay? Let me see. Let me decipher this. Okay, so first you're eating more of a high carb meal. So your first meal of the day is more higher carb, which I think is okay. Okay, but you're still only eating 100 grams of carbs a day, so you're still not going crazy with the carbs. Then low fast as meal 1, maybe low fat, you meaning as meal 1, and low carb. Okay, low fat, low carb. Okay, low. You know, I'm not following you, DD. Maybe I'm misunderstanding this. And then low carb, paleo, which I love, and high fat meal 2. Okay, so it seems like how I'm understanding is that first you're taking in your carbs earlier in the day, and then you're doing more of like a higher fat protein meal and eat a paleo meal and eating. I think that's great. But I also think just to make sure you're taking in enough protein, you can do higher carb, you know, with the protein for breakfast for your first meal of the day as well. Just don't do things like, you know, like butter, put a lot of butter on your toast, but you can do the carbs and the protein. There's going to be some fat in the protein. So maybe you want to do a little bit of a leaner type protein in the morning. High carb and low fat as meal 1, high carb. Okay, you could do that. I'm just not a big fan of high carb, you know, low fat. I would like, for example, I would want all your carbs to be mostly like vegetables, like high fiber, high nutrient type carbs. Like, you know, so like for breakfast, I'm going to pull up some pictures. Like for breakfast, you can have your protein and fat. Like say you're having 3 whole eggs, like everyone's talking about, those vital protein eggs. That'll be like 21 grams of protein there. Then if you want to have a little bit of maybe lean sausage with that, they give yourself another like 15 grams of it, or maybe a little smoked salmon with those eggs. So you're getting your fat and protein there. Then to get your fiber and you get some carbohydrates in you, maybe you can do half an avocado, or maybe you can do some berries, some blueberries. Like do more like that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of more that low carb. That high carb, lower fat. You could do that, but it's kind of hard to make sure you're getting in enough protein if one of your meals is that. This may really help you. I would do more like that. I would switch to more, you can take in those 100 grams of carbs, but take them in vegetables and fruits a little bit with each meal. Do that instead. That may help you a little bit. Let's see what we got here. Hey, Chris, another super chat. You're doing it. Oh, this is incredible. This is going to be my best super chat live stream I've ever had. Okay, great live. This has really made my day. I am so hungry for better fitness. This is great. And I'm trying to build my discipline in my life. You are great. Oh, Chris, this is so nice. I really appreciate it. I think you're following me on Facebook too, right? 'Cause I think I see you on Facebook all the time, which is great. And I really appreciate the super chat. I'm so happy you're showing up. I'm going to go live every week. I may stick to the Sunday, or we may pick a different time, but I really appreciate you showing up in all the super chats. So nice here. This is great. Love it. Okay. How can I break an 18-hour fast? People to break a fast with rice cakes or bone broth, is that still true? See, I'm not a fan I like bone broth because, it's like collagen. It's good for your skin, hair, and nails. High in glycine, proline, but it's incomplete protein. If you look at my shorts on the YouTube channel, and if you look at my Instagram or my TikTok page, 𝘾𝙊𝘾𝙃, I must have 50 videos on how to break a 16-hour, 18-hour fast. And I break it more. It's really important for your first meal of the day. I think that's why even with you, DD, to break it with, have your first meal should be protein, high in protein. I'm not crazy about the rice cakes. The bone broth is okay. I think people who are doing that are maybe doing more extended fasting. Like if you're fasting for 3 days, or like a long day fast, you just want to get a little bit of food in your system, something that's easily digestible. I think that would be more like a rice cake or like a bone broth. But if for an 18-hour fast, I would still stick to, I think it's important. And this is why, to some degree. Okay, when you're in a fasted state, right, it's the opposite of being in a fed state. So when you eat food, when you're eating protein, carbs, fat, whatever, you're getting an insulin spike, but you're getting like mTOR signaling. mTOR is like the growth signaling within the body. It creates different reactions within the body that puts you in in a growing state, right? You're like hormones and it's almost like the same response you would get from when you're lifting weights, when you're doing resistance training. You're going in that growth phase. So, eating protein, eating food stimulates mTOR, especially leucine. Leucine is the most important essential amino acid, which is good for growth. When you're in a fasted state, the opposite things happen, like AMPK and the sirtuins. Like you go into like recovery mode. That's why, but some people feel that's why so many benefits, right? Like autophagy, cell, rejuvenation, all the weakened damaged organelles die off. And that's one of the biggest benefits of fasting, right? Is that you're repairing, good for longevity, good for things like that. You want that perfect balance of mTOR and autophagy and AMPK. Now, when you've been fasting overnight, or say you've been doing an 18-hour fast, right? mTOR is really low, and all the other things are high. But you want to go into a growth phase, so you want to eat protein for your first meal, in my opinion. You want to prioritize protein all the time. So your first meal of the day and your last meal of the day, I think, should be high in protein. Especially me, because I'm only doing 2MAD, and I recommend 2MAD to so many people only eat 2 meals a day. So both your meals have to prioritize protein. So I hope that answers your question. Kind of a long-winded answer to it, but I hope that helped you. Okay, let's see what we got here. Nicholas, Mike, what happens if I just eat meat for a month? Oh, that's like going carnivore. I would probably eat meat, maybe a little bit of fruit, but you will definitely lose some weight. I just don't want you to run into trouble. I think you got to stop. I think, Nicholas, you should stop thinking so extreme. You've done so good. You lost a ton of weight. You're working out. You're a young, healthy guy. I would focus on now good food quality, keep an eye on calories. I don't think you have to do anything extreme. If you start gaining weight, like, for no reason or something, you may want to kick into something a little bit more extreme, but I wouldn't do any of these things. Okay, what do you think of doing a full week of maintenance calories? I like that. And then a week of massive calorie restriction to keep going back and forth. Okay, I like the idea of 1 week of maintenance and then 1 week of calorie restriction, but I don't think massive would be good for you, especially because you don't have much weight to lose. You want to lose a little bit of that lower ab weight. You're working out all the time. You're a young guy. Your hormones are so good at this age and this time in your life that you want to put on some muscle. I would go from maintenance to maybe a 500 calorie deficit every day for a week, and you can do that. I think that would be a good thing for you to do, smart thing for you to do. Okay, DD, I usually have fruit or sweet potato, beans, oat for breakfast with my protein and fats, and then salmon salad. I love dinner. Okay, so it seems like you're doing all your carbs, that whole 100 grams for breakfast. I would probably trim it out, I have to say, DD. I would just make sure you're getting in, and okay, with protein, as long as you're getting that 50 grams of protein, I don't know if I would go, fruit, sweet potato, beans, oats. I mean, unless you're just meaning that you switch from, like, one day you have oats with protein, then the next day you have, potato with protein. But if you're doing all of those, I think that's a little too carby, for one meal. I'd rather you spread it out throughout the day. Like the whole thing with you, or with anyone, is that look at it like this. When you eat carbohydrates, whatever you don't burn right then, you store it away in your muscles and live in your form of glycogen. Right? And it's a good thing, right? What happens, though, is that you can only hold, maybe a gal your size, maybe you can hold 1,500 calories of carbohydrates of glycogen in your muscle and your liver. Once they're full, whatever excess carbs you're eating, calories you're eating, can be converted into body fat. So what you really want to do is you never want your glycogen stores in your muscle and liver to be full to the brim. You want to fill them up. You want to keep, in your case, you want to keep 500, 1,000 calories of glycogen in your muscle and your liver. Then you want to exercise, live your life, live an active lifestyle. You want to deplete them, and then you want to fill them halfway, 2/3 up again. So I think, and plus taking in that protein also has the thermic effect, right? For every 100 calories of protein you're eating, you're going to burn up 30% of those calories just digesting and processing the protein. So I'd rather you prioritize protein more, and maybe, if you did, like I said, 3 or 4 eggs with some fruit, or 3 or 4 eggs maybe with a little, a half a cup of oats, or if you like the beans, 3 of, or I would rather you do more of that and be a little less carby in the morning, for sure. Plus, I think it's going to help you with hunger as well. Let's see what we got here. I also noticed my stomach. Okay, this is Nicholas. I also noticed my stomach. I have stretch marks. Yeah, when you were Tuesday. I know. Sorry about that, Nicholas. I mean, hopefully, you could go do something about that. But let's get rid of that low belly fat and see how you look and feel. Maybe you want to get a little suntan. That'll help you with those with those stretch marks. I know so many people have them. Okay, so let's go over now. Let's go. I'll give you because I titled this, the start of this thing, my early time restricted eating meal plan. Let's see what Gene's got. I gotta go, Mike. Happy to see you. Be there next Sunday until you decide your news. Oh, thanks, Gene. Thanks a lot, and thanks again, Gene, for this super chat. I really appreciate it. Hang in there. I know we're going long today, but thanks a lot. Well, I'm almost done. I just want to talk about this slide, and I want to give you some exact examples of some meal plans. So this is what I've been doing. This is pretty much my exact schedule. Okay, my early time restricted eating meal plan. This is what I'm talking about. So I've been doing mostly 16-8 2-mad plus a protein shake, just like I'm talking about with UD, pretty much. So 10 o'clock, I generally wake up in the morning. I walk first thing in the morning every single morning for at least 30 minutes, sometimes longer in a fasted state. Then 10 o'clock, I take in 30 to 60 grams of protein. I'm leaning a little now more towards 60. Then I work out around 1 o'clock every single day, and then my post-workout shake, I take in about 30 grams of protein. Sometimes I eat a protein bar. Now this is the big change. Now I've been eating dinner between 5:30 and 6 o'clock. So I really, really uplifted my eating window. I typically would not break my fast to 1, 2 o'clock, and maybe eat dinner around 8 o'clock. So I really lifted it, and I really do like it. I think my body fat went down. I really feel good on this diet. And I have been eating more fruit than I typically would. And I've been cutting back maybe on the vegetables a little bit. And then what I've also been doing is that once every 4 days, I do carb up a little bit. So what like what I was talking about with DD, I'm pretty much like pretty low carb most of the time. And then I do like to fill up my glycogen storage so I can work out, so I can have good energy in the gym and just good. So maybe once every 4 days now, I've been carbing up a little bit more. And then I'll do what I talked about before, maybe like 1 day a week for dinner. After I eat dinner, I might wait 30 minutes, then have like a couple of sweet potatoes or do something like that. I do it like in a good, clean way. Okay, hey Mike, thank you. It's healthy to intermittent fast every day. You know, I think it can be. I mean, if you do it every day, it would be called, like I'm talking about here, it would be called time-restricted eating or time-restricted feeding. If you do it intermittently, it would be intermittent fasting, but I think it can. You know, but as long as you're taking good nutrition, taking in enough, you know, healthy foods, I think you can do it every day indefinitely. Okay, so let's give you some exact examples of what I've been doing. First, I talk about my trip. This is the trip, you know, I was in Hawaii. This is like my fasted walk that I was taking every single day. It was really beautiful Hawaii. Look at this thing. And it was an incredible trip in that my wife's company, my wife works for this incredible company, and they take all their employees who have been there for a couple of years or more on this on an amazing trip every year. All the senior people get to go. It was just mind-blowing. It was incredible. I absolutely loved it. And when I was on vacation, this is what I mean by I've been eating more fruit. I kind of stuck to somewhat of a, you know, I really wanted to avoid, like I said, filling up my glycogen stores too much on vacation, but I still wanted to have fun. So I really stayed away from the breads, the pastas, the rices, the grains. I really ate mostly fruit. And this is after our walk, so this is around 10 o'clock. We'd go, I eat a ton of fruit. I really wasn't familiar with papaya. I actually loved it. And you can even with some fatty cuts, like this is just, I went up there multiple times. This time I just took bacon, but there was like sausages there, there was ham there. So I ate pretty much a fruit and animal protein diet. I actually loved it. I didn't gain any weight from the trip at all, and all I did was walk, no working out. Really loved it. And I wasn't even hungry, which was great too. You know, I drank a little bit of like, you know, you drink cocktails when you're away. I don't drink cocktails. I had a little bit of wine, a little bit of beer now and then, so I got some carbs there. But let me give you some example of like a dinner. This is a dinner where I would basically on that 4th day when I was carbing up. So this is maybe like a pound of shrimp. This is a humongous plate. Now this is not, it may look like rice, but this is that cauliflower rice, which I love. This is cauliflower, peppers, carrots, things like that. And this is like a sweet potato. And I didn't eat this right away, the sweet potato. I waited. And I had this sweet potato maybe 15, 20 minutes after the meal just to minimize the spike. That's what I mean by like a higher carb meal. I think Nicholas had a couple of questions. Let's see what we got. Okay, thanks, Mike. You've been so helpful on my journey. I have noticed that my veins in my hands are really developing ever since I turned. Oh, that's great. Yeah, you see the hormones are kicking in. You're muscling up. Okay, what's more important in muscle recovery, food or sleep? I know that both, I would say sleep, both super important. But the main thing is an adequate amount of protein and sleep, no question about it. Sleep, key factor. And you can even sleep more than 8 hours. As a teenager, 17, you can sleep 9, 10 hours. That's my walk. Let's talk about. Okay, this is like another breakfast that I eat. I love this breakfast a lot too. And I always like to say you don't have to eat traditional breakfasts. I love the idea of having like, I'm a big arugula eater. I love arugula because it's high in nitrates, which convert to nitric oxide like I spoke about. This is just like an arugula salad. I think this is leftover from the night before, but I just added like a whole handful of blueberries. And these are those vital eggs, maybe 4 whole scrambled eggs. You know, this is like a great breakfast. For me, 4 would be even a little bit low in protein. I'm not sure, maybe I had added a little bit of a shake with that too. Let me see what this dinner is. Oh yeah, this is just a classic perfect dinner. Nice pound piece of, this is a big piece, much bigger than it might look in this picture. I think this is probably salmon or Arctic chard. Once again, arugula, tomato, stewed tomatoes with onions. I'm always big believer. Just make sure your fruits and your vegetables are different colors. Like don't always go green, don't always go. So whenever I'm adding vegetables and fruits, I want different colors. So obviously we got the green with the arugula here. We got the red with the tomato. We got the white with the onion. You know, which is great. Let's see what lunch this is. I'm not even sure what it is. Ooh, this is one of my favorite lunches too. This is right with those. This is one of those high omega-3 lunches, which is awesome. Can of salmons. I ate salmons. I mean, I'm sorry, can of sardines. I eat sardines, and that brand I like is the Henry and Lisa's brand, wild caught sardines, super high in omega-3s. Plus, you get the skin, the connective tissue, the bones, high in calcium. I love the sardines. This is my whole food smoked salmon, so I'm probably well over 50 grams of protein here, more like 60. My strawberries and blueberries, 2 different colored fruits, avocado, high in fiber. And what I've been doing lately, it's a little bit expensive though, and I've been getting this at Whole Foods too, is I take a scoop of those salmon roe fish eggs just to increase the amount of omega-3s. I love the taste of them too. They're salty, they taste great. I love this. Is like a real, I love this meal. This could be a dinner, this could be anything. This is my style. If you want to get in line with me, this is my style of eating, like all the way. I just love it. Got a couple more. Let's see, what dinner is this? Oh, this is another cool dinner. I've been eating a lot of shrimp lately. It's interesting. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's Gulf shrimp season now in Florida, but these are from Florida. These are wild caught Gulf shrimp. You know, if you notice, I always put a couple of different colors in there. I got an orange cut up there for vitamin C, the antioxidants for fruit. I got an avocado. Once again, I think this was a combination of a mixture between arugula and spinach salad, which I do that a lot. You're making me hungry, Gwen. Yeah, I don't know, but all good stuff. All good stuff, though, Gwen, right? I think I just have one more. What breakfast is this? Let me see. I guess very similar. So I mean, you're catching the gist of it. Probably 4 scrambled eggs. See, I added, this time I knew I was light on protein the other one, so I added the can of sardines, big handful of blueberries, half an avocado, plus my arugula salad. So that's it. There we go. The benefits, my time-restricted eating meal plan. There we go. Oh, I appreciate everyone now showing up today. We went kind of long, an hour, 36 minutes. This is great. Oh, thank you so much for all the super chats. Chris, Jean, everybody. It was so incredibly nice of you. Thanks for showing up. So I'm figuring I'm back on track. I felt like maybe I was a little rusty today because I didn't do this in a month, but I'm going to be doing one every single month going forward. Also, leave some comments. I'll look up for Chris. I'll look up that supplement tonight, that longevity supplement, to see what I'll tell you what I think about it. But once again, I appreciate everyone showing up. This was awesome. Thanks again. Let's see, Nicholas, what did he say? I found these beef burgers in my local grocery store that for each burger is 32 grams of protein. Well, pretty good. It was really strange on how much protein there was. No, that sounds great. Love it. 150 calories. Ooh, really good. All protein. All right, guys. Thanks for showing up. Once again, wonderful. I'll see you guys soon. I'll let you know when I'm doing the live stream, whether it's next Sunday or if I pick a different day. But thanks for showing up, guys. This was wonderful. I really loved it and enjoyed it. Thanks for showing up.